Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox, on this wonderful Friday morning. Now, obviously, there's been an absolute rake of news overnight with the various things that have been going on. Most notably, of course, Peter Murrell's arrest, of which more later. I'm not going to do that first thing. We did two shorts yesterday evening, and we're going to wait until later in the day before addressing it, because obviously later in the day, more people see it. And it's something that really does need the maximum exposure. If there's anything new that comes up from it, I will, of course, drop it in as a flash video, but it won't do a full one until later in the day. Also, and likewise, the same with the Greens and the possibility that they will leave government rather than the SNP throwing them out. There is a great big sort of sense of disappointment, I suppose is a word, that's rolling around at the moment, both on the climate front and on the LGBT stance over transgendering children, mutilating children. They're really up for it. They don't like the fact that the SNP are going to stop it. So we will address these later in the day, but we've got a whole load of stuff to get through. It's such a busy day, and so I'm going to just crack on. We're going to start with Jenny Gilruth, who the other day basically said that Scotland wasn't very good and never had been when it came to education. She's trying to rewrite history so that the current failing education system doesn't look as bad as it truly is. Here goes. So Jenny Gilruth talks down Scotland as she claims that the education system has never been the best in the world to defend the SNP's record. No, it may not have been the very, very best in the very, very biggest wide world, but it was generally accepted top 10. It was a top tier education system. It was a highly regarded education system. It was an education system of which Scotland would be rightly proud. That, of course, is no longer the case. It is now, in some cases, below the par of some third world countries. And so, to stop people realising how far the fall has been, Jenny Gilruth is out lying, spinning, trying to rewrite history to make it look as though Scotland's education system hasn't failed, hasn't fallen. But the truth is, of course, it has, and we all know it has. And it doesn't matter how many lies spinning Jenny spins and tells. The fact is, the truth remains. It has fallen horrendously. The Scottish Government's Education Secretary tried to claim that Scotland's education system has never been as good as once claimed in a bid to rewrite history and protect the SNP's poor record in schooling. A record that's only going to get worse as increasing number of teachers leave the profession, class sizes increase, disruption in schools increase, PISA standings fall, and resources are continued to be cut by the SNP government. She's been accused of talking down Scotland in an attempt to cover up for SNP's 17 years of failure in education, and in a shocking admission, the Scottish Government's Education Secretary claimed the country had never been the best in the world when it came to teaching. And we all know that that's bullshit and a great insult to all those who've worked in education over the last, 400 years? Under the SNP, standards have slipped in the country's schools, with Scotland even being dragged out of international tables so that it cannot be judged against the best in Europe. Last year, the results of the OECD's Programme of International Assessment, PISA, showed that the country's results for reading, science and maths falling to record lows. And as I say, in those fields, there were third world countries beating Scotland. That is something very shameful and should make uncomfortable reading for the SNP. But it won't, of course, because they literally don't care. And I'm pretty sure that failing education standards are policy. It's what they want. An uneducated population don't ask awkward questions. It was once the best performing nation in the UK, with the first survey in 2000 showing that Scotland was judged to be well above average in all these topics. But this has now decreased, with England leading by 21 points in maths, 20 points in science and 3 points in reading. In an attempt to defend these poor scores, Miss Gilruth rewrote history by claiming that this success was actually a golden age mentality. No, it isn't a golden age mentality when you've actually got raw data to back up the arguments. That's unfortunate for her because she's been caught out in her lies. She made this comment during an interview with Kay Adams on BBC Radio Scotland, with the broadcaster asking, "Do you think the Scottish education system is still the best in the world? The reputation we had, do we still have it?" The Education Secretary responded saying, "Well, I would query the reputation actually, Kay." When pressed on this, with Miss Adams claiming it was something Scots were very proud of, Miss Gilruth added, "Indeed, I think there's a bit of a golden age mentality when we come to look back. Let's be really honest about it." Yeah, let's be honest about it. Yeah, Jenny, let's be honest about it. Scotland was always a top 10 educator. Scotland always had very high, very impressive results. Scotland did have an education system that the world would be jealous of. Let's be honest about that. And let's also be honest and say that the fall in education standards in Scotland is entirely down to the SNP. 17 years of misrule, 17 years of underfunding, 17 years of sheer abandonment of responsibilities have led to this current situation where Scotland is effectively, and to put it bluntly, a shit place to learn. Her comments were blasted by the Scottish Tories, with education spokesman Liam Kerr pointing out that she was attempting to cover up for 17 years of SNP failure in education. He added, "The Education Secretary's only line of defence is to try to claim that the past was not as rosy as people recall. Feeling the need to talk down Scotland's education system is a damning indictment of her party's record. The facts speak for themselves. Under the SNP, violence in schools has soared, teachers have left languishing on temporary contracts, and Scotland has plummeted down educational rankings." And he is bang on right. There is no other way. The fact, the big problem she's got is that there are records that show she's lying, that she's spinning Jenny, is spinning out of control, that she's got nothing else. And so, hopefully, by lying to the masses, she hopes that some people will believe the lies. Unfortunately, of course, an awful lot of SNP supporters are a bit stupid and have very bad memories. And they don't sort of remember the good old days when Scotland did actually have an education system, rather than what is basically now state paid for daycare. They're not learning much. They're certainly not coming out with a great education. Not when they're being beaten by the likes of Malawi and Chad. Anyway, I shall stop there. I shall come up and we shall woe and rue the day that the SNP took control of Scotland's education. Coming up. Currently, Northern Ireland's got a very good education record. And it's strange, isn't it? Because Northern Ireland still has grammar schools. Goes to show, if you have a grammar school system, you have more social mobility and you have a better chance of educating your kids. Not in England, not in Scotland, because of Labour. Labour Party took away grammar schools and a few remain, but not many. And that's the problem. If you bring back grammar schools, perhaps you could increase the social mobility, because you're regardless of your background, you're going into a better quality education system based on intelligence and ability rather than ability to pay. But that's an argument for a different day on a different video. I'm not going to get into that political mess today. However, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Is Spinning Jenny full of it, or was Scotland's education system not very good in the past? I'm pretty sure it was very, very good in the past, and I'm pretty sure now it is a cesspit. But let me know what you think. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, and I will speak to you later. Bye.